You walked into the sweet shop with your pocket money, 10 pence, maybe 20 if it was a good week, stood at the counter for longer than was probably reasonable, and came out with a paper bag that was the best part of your entire week. The smell of that bag, the weight of it. Most of what was in it no longer exists. 20 of them are on this list. Here's what happened to them. A cowboy appeared on your television and told you that the Texan Bar sure is a mighty chew. He was not wrong. This was a thick caramel and nougat bar covered in milk chocolate, made by Roan trees, and it asked something of you. It took effort. It took time. It was withdrawn from sale in 1984, which remains one of the more culturally significant decisions made in that decade. Named the UK's favourite sweet of all time in a 2004 survey. Nestlé revived it briefly as a limited edition in 2005, and then it went again, not a comeback. A reminder of what had gone. Flat, square, hard-boiled sweets in a paper tube, available in flavours including strawberry, orange, lemon, blackcurrant and cola, and later in single-flavour varieties that included acid drop and spearmint, made by Mars, a staple of every sweet shop from the 50s through to the 80s, when they were quietly discontinued. They were briefly brought back in the 90s. The comeback did not last. You can't revive something this specific and expect it to feel the same, because the thing you're really trying to bring back is not the sweet. It's the paper tube, the sweet shop counter, and the Saturday morning that contained both. The mint chew that no longer exists. Spearmint flavour, chewy, with 3 green peppermint stripes. Originally launched as Opal Mints as a sister product to Opal Fruits, relaunched as Pacers around 1976, advertised with the slogan, "Peppermint striped for 2 mint freshness," and discontinued in 1985. They have not returned. The Celtic football team were once nicknamed the Pacers because their green and white hooped kit matched the stripe on the sweet, which tells you something about how present this product was in everyday British life, and also something about Scottish football fans. Roan trees, blue wrapper, milk chocolate on the outside, coconut, caramel, and chunks of cherry on the inside. It was a tropical-themed bar in a decade that had strong opinions about the tropics, and it was enormously popular through the 1980s before being discontinued in the early 90s. More than 1,000 people signed a petition calling for its return. Roan trees, by then Nestlé, declined. The petition is still mentioned online by people who clearly haven't given up, which is the correct attitude. A twin bar, similar in shape to a Twix but with a peanut and wafer base covered in milk chocolate, sold in distinctive navy blue packaging with the name in yellow block letters. It was one of the first British chocolate bars to use a heat-sealed wrapper rather than the standard fold-over, made by Roan trees, available through the early 80s before being withdrawn during the decade. There was also a coconut version in a red wrapper. Nobody talks about the coconut version, which is unfair. 2 hollow, twisted fingers of milk chocolate in a single pack, developed by Cadbury in 1984, test-launched in the Granada television region, where it achieved a 6.3% market share and the number 2 chocolate position almost immediately. The factory couldn't keep up with demand. They had to pause, build more capacity, and relaunch. It went national in 1989. It was discontinued in 2005 and replaced by the Twirl, which is not the same thing and everyone knows it. You could drink hot chocolate through a Spira. You cannot do that with a Twirl. This distinction matters. Roan trees launched the Drifter in 1980. Wafer, caramel, milk chocolate. 90 million bars produced every year at its peak. Nestlé took it over following their acquisition of Roan trees in 1988, discontinued it in 2007, brought it back in 2008 on a wave of nostalgia, and then discontinued it for good in 2018. It is gone. The slogan was the chewy chocolate biscuit that you really have to get your teeth into, which was honest in a way that most advertising is not. Macintosh's Toffo, individual wrapped toffees in an assorted roll that included apple, chocolate, banana, mint, pineapple and strawberry. The plain and mint versions also existed as single flavour rolls. They were popular throughout the 70s and 80s, the kind of thing you'd find in Nan's handbag, or at the bottom of a coat pocket, slightly furry. Discontinued in the late 80s and early 90s as the brand changed hands. Not the most dramatic departure on this list, but the absence of a toffee that tasted of apple is, in its own small way, a loss. 6 fingers of chocolate-covered wafer with hazelnut cream, sold in vivid orange packaging, made by Cadbury. Enormously popular in the 70s and into the 80s, then discontinued through the mid-80s as the confectionery market consolidated around fewer, bigger products. Bar 6 didn't survive the rationalisation. The orange wrapper is gone, the 6 fingers are gone. What remains is a vague sense that a Kit Kat is almost but not quite the right answer to whatever you were looking for. In 1990, Marathon became Snickers. In 1998, Opal Fruits became Starburst. Same bars, same chews, different names chosen in a boardroom that had no particular interest in what British children called things. The bars survived, the names didn't. And a name, it turns out, is not a small thing. Jacob's Trio, a toffee-flavoured biscuit bar in a red wrapper, a proper 80s school lunchbox item, the kind of thing you kept in your bag for after lunch and hoped nobody asked you to share. Discontinued by Jacobs in 2003, a Facebook campaign eventually convinced the brand, by then owned by United Biscuits under the McVitie's name, to bring it back as a limited edition in 2016. The limited edition ended. The trio is gone again. This is the kind of thing that happens to biscuit bars that deserve better. This one has a happy ending, which is why it's on the list. Cadbury launched the Wispa in 1981. Aerated milk chocolate, light enough to dissolve almost before you'd finish chewing it. Discontinued in 2003. The public response was not quiet. A campaign on Facebook gathered enough momentum that Cadbury relaunched it as a limited edition in 2007, and it sold out immediately. It's back permanently now. 23 years on the shelves, 4 years gone, and the public refused to let it die. Not every story on this list ends this way, which is why this one is worth noting. Not a sweet, a powder. A small tin of fizzing orange or raspberry powder that you mixed with water to produce a drink that had no connection to any known fruit, but was entirely magnificent. A staple of Scottish childhood in particular, made by Brown and Paulson and later Nestlé, discontinued in 1998. Nothing since has produced exactly that combination of sherbet fizz and artificial fruit flavour, and several people have noted online that they would genuinely pay significant amounts of money for a working tin. Not discontinued, abolished. Made by Rowntree Mackintosh in the 1980s. Milk chocolate on the outside, an inner layer of chocolate strands that produced an airy, almost mousse-like texture when you bit into it. The manufacturing process was specialised enough that when Nestlé acquired Rowntree's in 1988, the bar couldn't be easily absorbed into the new production line. It disappeared in the early 90s. Petitions have been raised. Nothing has happened. The name, the texture, and the specific sensation of biting through those chocolate strands are gone. Small bottles of brightly coloured fizzy drink in flavours like cherryade, bubblegum, and strawberry, sold at corner shops and school tuck shops for about 20 pence. Present at every children's birthday party from the 1980s through to the noughties, unmistakable in their plastic bottles with the cartoon panda on the label. Discontinued in 2011, when the manufacturer Nichols decided to focus on the Vimto brand instead. A practical decision. Culturally, an act of vandalism. Technically still available. But the Wham Bar that exists today is not the Wham Bar that existed in the 1980s, and anyone who was there will tell you so without being asked. The original was a dense, almost violently chewy raspberry-flavoured bar studded with fizzy sherbet pieces that went off like small explosions in your mouth. The current version is chewier in a different way. The sherbet is less aggressive and the whole experience is quieter than it used to be. Present in body, absent in spirit. McVitie's, a biscuit bar, plain biscuit base, caramel, milk chocolate. Sold in a red and black wrapper with the word Bandit in bold yellow letters. Popular through the early and mid-80s, before being discontinued as the biscuit bar market consolidated. Not the most dramatic exit on this list, but the Bandit Bar occupies a specific place in the memory of anyone who ate lunch in a British primary school between 1980 and 1988, which was approximately half the country. Rowntree's launched the bar none in 1987. Wafer fingers, chocolate cream, peanuts, all enclosed in milk chocolate with a distinctive ridged surface. It was the kind of bar that felt slightly more grown up than what you usually bought, in the way that having a complicated filling always did. It was discontinued in the early 90s and is remembered with a particular fondness that slightly exceeds what the bar probably warranted in real life, which is the definition of nostalgia, and also this entire video. That's 19. One short of 20 because Marathon and Opal Fruits shared an entry. And they would have wanted it that way, since they spent their whole lives being compared to each other. Most of them are gone. A handful came back in different forms, or with different names, or briefly and then gone again. What all of them have in common is a specific place in a specific kind of British childhood: the corner shop counter, the tuck shop queue, the top pocket of a school bag on a Tuesday afternoon, the 10 pence that went a long way, the paper bag that weighed almost nothing and meant everything. You can still buy sweets, you just can't buy these ones. And the person behind the counter who knew what you'd want before you'd decided, that's gone too. That's a different list. But it's coming. Tell me in the comments, which one do you miss most? Which one did you forget existed until just now? And is there one I missed that should absolutely have been on here? If you found this worth your time, subscribing helps me know there's interest in these topics.